So, my dear devotees, I will begin by singing the Mangal Charana prayers and leading a short kirtan, and then we'll speak. Vandeham founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Prajakacharya Stotra Sattasi Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamkunda Radha Kundi Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Samveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, my dear devotees. So I will speak a little about my experience in Madras, preaching on behalf of Srila Prabhupada. I was the first devotee from ISKCON to go to Madras, and I was preaching as I heard Srila Prabhupada preach. But then I found there was some undercurrent of protest about the way I was preaching. Even friends, even people who had been hosting me said that I shouldn't criticize others. I should just say positively what I want to say about Krishna consciousness, but don't criticize others. So so many people were saying the same thing. I thought maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I should adjust my approach. So one day I had an appointment with an industrialist who had a large compound, and in the compound he had his factory and office and also his home. And Srila Prabhupada said that if we just pile his books on the person's desk and ask them to become a life member, then they'll become life members. So I would carry like a preaching kit with pictures of our centers and activities. So I showed him the pictures and the books and asked him to become a life member. And he said, what about Shankaracharya? He's one of the great acharyas of India. You haven't said anything about him. What about him? So I replied, yes, he is one of the great acharyas of India. Well, what about him? You haven't said anything about him. What about him? And eventually it all came out that he was an incarnation of Lord Shiva who had come to bewilder the atheists by preaching a veiled form of Buddhism. At that time we didn't have Chaitanya Charitamrita, but I had teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and I read the section that describes Shankaracharya and what his mission was. So I figured that was the end of it. So, I put away all the pictures and the books and the membership form. And then he said, I want you to come and see my temple in my home. And I thought, he's going to have a Shiva Linga, and if I don't offer obeisances, he's going to get offended. So I looked at him like, do I really have to? And he looked at me, yes, you really do. So I went with him into his home, and his Vivi room was quite large, as home temples go, with white marble, and on the platform of the altar were Radha Krishna deities. And I was so happy to see them, because in Madras, even the Vishnu temples were just Vishnu. And then there was this one temple, Parthasarathi, by the seaside, which was just Krishna. So I looked at him, what's going on? And he said, actually, I and all of my family for many generations have been devotees of Radha and Krishna. And I was just testing you. And you did not compromise. So I'm very happy, and I'll be pleased to become your life member. So we went back out, and he paid the life membership fee, and I gave him the books and magazines and so on. Then I thought, well, maybe what I've been doing isn't wrong, but I wasn't completely sure. But when I got back to my room, there was a letter from Srila Prabhupada, and the words just jumped off the page. Srila Prabhupada wrote that my Guru Maharaj never compromised in his preaching, and I shall never compromise in my preaching. And similarly, none of my disciples should compromise in their preaching. We must declare it boldly to the world that Krishna is the supreme Godhead, and all others are his part and parcel servants. And people should not foolishly dream of world peace unless they are prepared to surrender to Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So I felt that my approach was confirmed by Srila Prabhupada. There was another man in Madras named Mr. Ramakrishna. And many people told me he's a very religious person, you should meet him. So I met him, and he started saying that Shiva is supreme. And I was say Krishna is supreme. And we got into quite a heated argument. He was a volatile person, and his face got red, and so it ended on a pretty unpleasant note. But as I continued seeing people, many people told me, oh, you must meet Mr. Ramakrishna, he's very religious. And I think from his side, people were telling him, oh, you should meet the Hare Krishna devotee because they're doing very good work. Because when I phoned him back to make an appointment, he readily agreed. So I met him again, and we started to get into the same argument. He would say Shiva is supreme, I would say Krishna is supreme. But neither of us wanted it to end the same way as it did the last time. So I said, actually, I'm just a student, but my spiritual master is coming to Madras soon. So why don't you meet him and discuss with him? And that was a good way out for both of us, because we didn't want to end it on that unpleasant note. And he was going to meet a pure devotee of Krishna, so what could be better? So when Srila Prabhupada came, I introduced Mr. Ramakrishna to him. And Mr. Ramakrishna said that, I've been having some discussion with your student, Giriraj, and I say that Shiva is supreme, and he says that Krishna is supreme. And Srila Prabhupada very intelligently did not get into that polemic, who was supreme, but he took a different approach and said that there are two words in Sanskrit. One is puja and one is bhakti. And generally in puja, one worships the deity to get some benefit, whereas in bhakti, one serves the personality just to please the person. He said generally people worship Shiva in the mood of puja to get something from him, whereas people worship Krishna in the mood of bhakti just to please him. So Mr. Ramakrishna said, well, couldn't one worship Shiva in the mood of bhakti? And Srila Prabhupada replied, yes, it's possible, but that would be exceptional. Just like one might go to a liquor shop for some other reason than to buy liquor, but generally, if one goes to a liquor shop, it's understood that he's going to buy liquor. So somehow Mr. Ramakrishna was very satisfied with Srila Prabhupada's answer. And he appreciated that Srila Prabhupada didn't get involved in the controversy who was supreme, but rather explain the different modes of worship. Then towards the end of our stay, an important man had a deity installation at his home. And it was a fairly large temple room for a private home. people crowded in the room, including Srila Prabhupada, but there was no room for us, his disciples, so we were just watching from the outside. And so he was also a devotee of Shiva, and so he and all the other participants were worshipping Shiva and offering flowers to Shiva. And from the outside we could see that Srila Prabhupada didn't offer his flowers to Shiva, but he threw them in the corner, but we didn't know what was in the corner. So then after everyone came out, we went in and we saw there was like a little Krishna in the corner. So he had offered his flowers to Krishna. So, yeah, he had many nice experiences and adventures in Madras. We met one man named Rajaji, who was a prominent, I guess you could say, political leader. And he had held various high positions. And Srila Prabhupada had a long and elaborate conversation with him. And then towards the end of the meeting, Rajaji, his whole name was Suraj Gopalacharya, Rajaji said that it's possible that one could become like attached to an institution and identify with the institution, and that could be a problem. And Srila Prabhupada said no, because on the absolute platform, at that stage Rajaji liked to use the name Govinda for Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada said on the absolute platform, there's no difference between Govinda and Govinda's institution. So identifying with Govinda's institution is as good as identifying with Govinda. So there's no problem. Also in Madras, Srila Prabhupada met Dr. Radhakrishnan, who had, I think he'd been the vice president of India, and he had written an impersonal interpretation of the Bhagavad Gita. And in his comments he wrote that, it is not to Krishna the person to whom we should surrender, but to the unborn, unknown, eternal, who's speaking through Krishna. And on many occasions, Srila Prabhupada very strongly criticized his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. So I arranged a meeting, and by that time, Dr. Radhakrishnan was pretty incapacitated, and Srila Prabhupada told him about his work, how he's presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is all over the world, and how people were accepting it as it is. And but Dr. Radhakrishnan was paralyzed and he couldn't speak much. And afterwards, Srila Prabhupada commented that, he misused his power of speech, and so Krishna took it away from him. But he also said he was a gentleman, and that in a way it was Krishna's mercy to deal with him as Krishna was dealing with him. So, yeah, we had a lot of good times in Madras. Before then in Calcutta, my parents had come to meet me, and before they came, I didn't know how to respond, so I asked Srila Prabhupada, and he said, well, you must spend time with them. So I did. I took them to some tourist places and introduced them to some of my friends. And then they came to meet Srila Prabhupada. And they said that they wanted to establish a trust for me and put $1 million in it. And they wanted me to come to America and sign the documents. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, you can send the documents and he will sign. And then Srila Prabhupada said that, Prabhupada said, yeah, if your son wants to go, I have no objection. And I said, no, I want to stay with Srila Prabhupada. So then Srila Prabhupada said, all right, let him be with me. And after some time, when I come to America, I'll bring him with me. And I said, to see how intelligent Srila Prabhupada is, because when it's too cold in the West, but it's pleasant in India, he stays in India. And then when it gets too hot in India and it's pleasant in the West, he goes to the West. And by then my father was getting very enlightened by Srila Prabhupada. And he said, yes, your master is very intelligent. And Srila Prabhupada said, well, your son is very intelligent because he has understood my strategy. And my father said, no, actually you are very intelligent. Srila Prabhupada said, well, I suppose I must be, otherwise how could I attract so many intelligent young men like your son? So my mother was very concerned about my health, because in those days many people thought if you didn't eat meat you couldn't get enough protein. And Srila Prabhupada always kept sweets on his table, and being in Calcutta he had sandesh. So he gave some sandesh to my father and mother, and he said that, these are made of cheese and they're very high in protein. And then he said to me, dear Raj, you must eat 2 dozen rasgulla and sandesh every day. So then on the way out of Prabhupada's room, my father said, I'll say 2 things about your master. 1, he's a brilliant organizer, and 2, he really knows how to deal with people. And in my father's value system, those were like two of the highest compliments that he could pay to anyone. So then anyway, after Calcutta, I went to Madras. And then I arranged a program, and Srila Prabhupada came. And staying in different people's homes and eating lots of sambar and idlis and dosa, I put on weight. And Srila Prabhupada said I should take a picture of myself and send it to my mother. Yeah, he hadn't forgotten about her concern. Yeah, very kind, merciful, and patient. All right, my dear devotees, thank you for listening so patiently and attentively. And now, if any of you have any questions or comments? Yes.
Oh, thanks so much. In Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's mention of Raghunath Das Goswami, and there are two things mentioned about him. One is that he was completely detached from material opulence. His father was extremely rich, but he was not interested. And second is he was extremely attached to Lord Chaitanya. As soon as he got the opportunity, he ran away from his home. And we see these two qualities being present in you as well. One is that your father was extremely rich, but you are not interested. And secondly, you are extremely attached to Prabhupada. So how can we develop that?
Well, in general, in spiritual life, good attentive japa is important. So I would recommend that to begin with. And if possible, rise early in the morning, chant during Brahma Muhurta, chant in front of Tulsi Devi, and that will cleanse your heart. It's interesting you mentioned Raghunath Das Goswami because I always had that desire to go to Vrindavan and just wander like Raghunath Das Goswami. And Srila Prabhupada could read my mind. So in Juhu, he said, first you manage your father's estate very expertly, like Raghunath Das Goswami, and then you go to Vrindavan and become a Goswami. So, yeah, he wanted us to take care of his pupil project.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. I was listening to your lecture yesterday and related to the japa. There was a question from the audience about how you dealt with difficulties, and you said that you wouldn't do anything. You would go and start chanting, and then the problem would get resolved by itself. The solution would come. So I just wanted you to expand on that about chanting of japa. And then the second thing is, I know the importance of japa, and I'm sure everyone here and you, but how do we get that message across to others about the chanting of Hare Krishna, the Maha Mantra?
Well, yeah, we faced many challenges in Juhu, and I got a lot of strength and clarity from japa, which I would always do at least 12 rounds in the early morning. And if some problem came up during the day, I would also chant japa again to get strength and clarity how to deal with it. And to get the message across to other people would depend on the other people, like where they're coming from, what their ideas are. But there's a verse, Smartavya Satatam Vishnu, Vishmartavya Nadatu. One should always remember Vishnu and never forget him. And all of the positive injunctions in the Shastra are servants of the one positive injunction to always remember Krishna. And all the negative prohibitions in the Shastra are all servants of the one negative prohibition to never get Krishna. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that, there are many activities in the Krishna consciousness movement, such as distributing books and enrolling life members, but they're all meant to help us remember Krishna. But then he says that of all the instructions of the spiritual master, the instruction to chant minimum 16 rounds daily is most essential. To always remember Krishna, never forget him. So that's essential.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for blessing Bhakti Centre with your presence. I have very recently started chanting, and I have a sort of beginner's question, which is the right speed for japa, because when I chant slowly, I can focus on every sound of the mantra, but when I chant slowly, then I get bugged with a lot of thoughts and get very distracted quickly. But if I'm chanting fast, I focus on the mantra, but at the same time can't focus on each sound of the mantra. So what is the right speed?
So when you chant slowly, you're able to hear each word.
Yeah.
So that's good. But then the problem is
I get distracted by thoughts. I'm very chattery.
and when you chant fast, then
it's like there are no thoughts because I'm chanting fast, so then I can stay focused on the mantra, but then I can't hear every sound, every syllable clearly. It's a bit of a conundrum.
why can't you hear every syllable clearly when you chant quickly?
I guess I can, but then when I'm trying to maintain my focus and ensure that I've heard every single syllable, I'm not very sure that I've heard every single syllable of the mantra.
Well, given the two choices, it's probably better to chant fast and then just really try to hear every syllable.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. You were mentioning yesterday in the class that how one of your godbrothers wasn't sure of your managerial skills, and he was sending other devotees to assist you as vice president. And but then you saw that they didn't last, and then your godbrother realized this is why Srila Prabhupada asked you to take on that service. And I was just thinking, sometimes in a situation like that, if I saw that there was someone perhaps who was more skilled to do a service, I would be tempted to step away from it and let them do the service. And I was wondering if you could provide give some advice as to how we should discriminate, whether we should either give up a service so that someone else can take it who's more qualified, versus whether it's just us who are feeling a bit like burnt out or burdened or stressed and thinking, okay, I don't want to do this service, let someone else deal with the problem.
Well, it would depend on who gave you the service. If they want you to continue or not. I mean, in principle, it's nice to step out of the way if someone can do the service better. But you also have to do service. Maybe not that service, but then some other service. But it's sort of nice to make room for someone else to do the service if the other devotee can do it better than you. Yes?
I went to Vrindavan and started distributing books. I could do very quickly. All my books were sold out. But when I come here, I can't sell any of them. I can't give it to anybody.
Why did you come back?
I live there in London, not in India.
Well, it's probably easier to distribute books in Vrindavan because people are more receptive. So here it would be more of a challenge. But as we all know, Srila Prabhupada was very pleased when devotees distributed his books. And we should make that effort. And you can maybe consult some devotees who are successful in book distribution here and find out what approach they use, what techniques they use. When I would distribute books, I would always pray to the super soul in my heart to guide me to say the right thing to the particular person. And I would also pray to the super soul in the other person's heart to inspire the person to take the literature and do some service, give some donation. So, yeah, for me, prayer was a very important part of the process. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the class. So, Bhakti Centre is blessed by Mother Kalangana, and most of us in Bhakti Centre wouldn't be anywhere if not for Mother Kalangana. So, I have heard so many things about your exchanges with Mother Kalangana. I have heard that she used to put your picture frame in her altar. So, can you, share some exchanges of yours with Mother Kalangana, but some of your best memories?
I think I saw Sadhanandini. Where is Sadhanandini? Yeah. Why don't you tell your story about Mother Kalangana? It's a very interesting story.
With your permission.
Yes, please.
I was aspiring for Mother Kalangana for 2 years, but she was refusing me completely. Every time she was saying, "Don't talk about it, don't mention it." And then after a while, I said, "Well, please, at least guide me. Tell me who I should take shelter of." And then she gave me 2 names. And then I said, "No, Mother Kalangana, just give me 1 name." And she wouldn't. And then it was on Lord Nityananda's appearance day. I was getting ready to go, I had a service, I was getting ready in the ashram. And then I said, "Mother Kalangana, you're not giving me Diksha, you're not telling me who I should take Diksha from. Today is Lord Nityananda's appearance day. Please pray for me that I find my Guru. And just immediately she said, take shelter of Giriraj Swami. And Guru Maharaj was not one of those two names she gave me before. So I was surprised, but at the same time, I was, without knowing why, I said, yes, okay, of course. And I just felt that things just fell into place. And then, so I left, I had my service, then the next day I came back and told Mother Kulungana what I was feeling. And then she took the book, Life's Final Exam, from her bookshelf. Guru Maharaj has given that book to Mother Kulungana and signed it, and had nice writing, Guru Maharaj had written for Mother Kulungana. I try to remember what you had written. You said that, Mother Kulungana, you already passed your exam. You're just here to help us to go through it. Something like that. On that book. And she gave it to me, and she said, "Take this. This is for you." And we actually read, some of it together. And then Mother Kulungana spoke to Radhakanta Prabhu to speak, for me, on her behalf, and Radhakanta Prabhu wrote to Guru Maharaj about me, and then yes.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, thank you so much for your very nice memories. I have a question. So, do you remember any chastisement from Srila Prabhupada which was very hard to accept?
Yes.
Could you share it with us?
Yeah. Well, in the early days in Juhu, first we had a big Pandal program, and then after the Pandal program, Srila Prabhupada left, and we made like a small arrangement for the deities in front of the property, and a brahmachari would spend the night there to protect the deities. And then one night, while the brahmachari was asleep, someone came and stole some of the deities' ornaments. And so Srila Prabhupada wrote me a letter. I received this report, and this is a most abominable affair. And that chastisement really affected me. And I wrote back to Srila Prabhupada that I'm sorry that this happened while I was the president. And, I'm trying to maintain my enthusiasm even after the severe chastisement you gave me. And then Srila Prabhupada wrote back that it's the duty of the spiritual master to correct the disciples so that they improve, not that he should always be flattering them. And my only concern is that you and all my other disciples make advancement in Krishna consciousness. And so that letter, pacified me about his heavy chastisement. This is the most abominable affair. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes.
Maharaj, thank you for sharing all the stories. I am from Vilapale East, so I have a very attachment to the Jew temple because we used to visit during my childhood regularly.
Oh.
Not just for darshan, but also for batata vada and so so very fond memories, Maharaj. And the project underwent many legal challenges and a lot of difficulties. So you've already shared quite a few stories, but if you'd like to share any additional story which had all these challenges, legal challenges.
Oh, well, I've written a whole book about it. But there was a Bollywood movie in which one of the characters says, I'm going to the Hare Krishna temple in Juhu to get some samosas.
We have the book here, you can take it.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I was listening yesterday online, and it was really, it's so amazing. I cannot tell you what a blessing it is to be here in your presence, and also to listen to the stories you and the memories you've had with Srila Prabhupada. It's just really a blessing. And I can actually, I'm sure everyone feels the same. You can actually live through the memories you've had. You've been blessed, obviously, to have met him and have that time. You did mention, someone asked about your fondest memories yesterday, but it was right at the end, and I was waiting to hear it, but I don't know if we have time. And you said it was about the first time that you met Srila Prabhupada, so I don't know if we have time. I know it's in your books, but if you have time to share it, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, it was my first discussion with Srila Prabhupada. He had come to my university, Brandeis University, near Boston, and I had some friends over. I had an apartment near the campus, and I had some friends over for dinner. I was already vegetarian, and then we were going to see a movie at Harvard Square. In those days they had art houses in which they showed art films. So, but I had seen a poster on campus, lecture Bhagavad Gita as it is, Swami Bhaktivedanta. And, something in my heart was telling me I must go to this lecture. So one of my friends, a lady friend, said, why can't you be normal like other people? Why do you always have to be running after these swamis and gurus? And she raised her voice, and I raised my voice. I said, okay, this will be the last one I ever go to. So we went, but because of all the discussion, we arrived late. And so there was kirtan, and the students were getting up from their seats and climbing on the stage and joining in the chanting and dancing. And I also felt like doing that, but I knew it would be too much for my friends, so I just stood up in place. And then afterwards, Swarupa announced, if anyone is driving to Boston or Cambridge, they should meet the devotees in the lobby, because the devotees need a lift. So I met the devotees in the lobby, and I had a red Rambler station wagon that my father had given me as a high school graduation present. So they all piled in, and then I got the address to the temple, and then the next night I went to the temple. And Srila Prabhupada was giving a talk, and because of his thick Bengali accent at the time, and also I was not familiar with the philosophy, so I didn't follow that much of it. But at one stage he said, out of many thousands of men, one will seek perfection. And I thought, that's me. He's talking about me. So then at the end, he asked for questions. And I asked, there's so many swamis and gurus, and each recommends a different method of self-realization, and each says, is this the best? So how do I know which is actually the best? And Srila Prabhupada's reply was brilliant. He said, what is your goal? Because I was asking, what is the best means? But then the fundamental question is, what is the end? And then you see what is the best means to reach the specific end. So he said, do you want to serve God, or do you want to become God? If you want to become God, that means you're not God now. And how can not God become God? And he said, Krishna is always God. He doesn't have to become God by yoga or meditation. He's God when he's playing on the lap of Mother Yashoda. He's God when he's speaking the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. He's always God. And then he said, if you sow the seed of service to God and water it with chanting, God will provide the sunlight and all the conditions favorable to make it grow. But if you want to become God, you're only cheating yourself, because why should God help the competition? He said you can become godly, but you cannot become God. So at that stage, I got the distinct impression that Srila Prabhupada was seeing, through the walls of the temple, over the roads into my apartment, into my bathroom, where I had engraved in my own hand, in ornate, colorful writing, "You are God." In case I forgot. And so I just imagined that Srila Prabhupada was seeing that. So then back in the temple room, he said, so what do you think? Do you want to serve God, or do you want to become God? So I said, I want to serve God, but I also know I couldn't cheat Srila Prabhupada, but actually I wanted to become God. And Srila Prabhupada said yes. So then I realized I met my perfect master, and I offered obeisances, and I kept down my head for quite a long time in that mood of surrender. But I was also a little afraid to look up, because I thought people would be glaring at me, oh, he wanted to become God. So I thought it was probably safe to come up now. So I did. Nobody was glaring at me. Everyone was smiling and happy. And there's this plate of prasad in front of me. And the first item I tried was a cauliflower pakora. And there was such an explosion of taste in my mouth like nothing I'd ever had. And like that, one after the other, each preparation is out of this world. And then, oh yeah, and at the beginning they brought a plate of prasad for Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada said, I am not God, I cannot eat all of this. Distribute. So then I was convinced that everything about Krishna consciousness was perfect. The Guru was perfect. The philosophy was perfect. The process, the chanting was perfect. The food, the prasadam was wonderful. Everything was fantastic. So, yeah, that was, I guess you could say, my most memorable experience. And afterwards I sent an email to that girl who asked the question with a similar description.
Thank you very much for that. It's beautiful.
Yes?
Hare Krishna, thank you for your lesson. Why I reading your book many months, and I have a question. Why the preaching of Bhakti Tirtha Swami is unique? No, because in you mentioned the intelligence of him devotee, disciple, and why to question why the preaching is singular, is very original, and why these disciples are very intelligent.
Well, Bhakti Tirtha Swami was very intelligent in his method of preaching. And I visited his center, and I was very impressed with the caliber of his disciples. Mostly black-bodied disciples. And at one stage he told me that many of them didn't even know that there was a huge international society for Krishna consciousness. You know, they just knew him and what he had established. But yeah, he was unique. And yeah, there's never been anyone like him. There never will be. So, did you have another question, or did I cover them both?
Why the disciple of Bhakti Tirtha Swami are very intelligent? You mentioned it in the book, the intelligence very singular to him disciple, because a lot of disciple don't a lot of time don't know they are in Hare Krishna movement and understanding second time, but started to chanting 60 round and follow the principle, but only after this disciple have a consciousness to.
Yes, that's how he trained some of his disciples. in the beginning. And it's like we should accept whatever is favorable and reject whatever is unfavorable. Anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjana. So he was very wise in seeing what to accept and what to reject in presenting Krishna consciousness. And yeah, he did amazing service, and he produced amazing disciples.
Thank you so much.
Yes? Nice to see you.
Prabhupada, regarding when he was in Bombay, in I don't remember which year, there was a famous movie, and the famous actor that he made a film, and there was a song like saying Dam Maro Dam, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. I think once you mentioned you went to see the movie as well, not in the cinema, but from the entrance. And can you say what happened, the conflict between, I know devotee wanted to protest at that time about the movie, and what Prabhupada said about this conflict?
Yeah, there is this movie, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, starring Devanand. And yeah, the devotees were upset. But Srila Prabhupada said, you know, eventually they'll forget the Dhammara Dham part and just remember the Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. And it was like that when I was first in Bombay, after the movie came out. The street urchins, they would approach us and they go like this, you know, Dam Hara Dam. But then after a while, so it was maybe Dam Hara Dam, but then after a while it was sort of equal, Dam Hara Dam and Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. Then eventually the Dam Hara Dam part dropped out completely, and then they would just say Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. But we would do Harinam Sankirtan and distribute literature in front of the theater where it was showing in Calcutta. And then, so once after all the customers had gone in, I thought I'll also take a look. And yeah, it was very impressive. It began with a map of India, well, of the world, including India. And the narrator said, you know, for centuries, India's spiritual culture remained within its borders. But then one man, and then it switched to a big picture of Srila Prabhupada. One man took India's spiritual culture outside of India and gave it to the world. And then it showed a picture of the some footage of the London Rath Yatra. It was also very impressive on the big screen. But then it switched to like hippie boys and girls, you know, smoking ganja and chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. And the idea was that, you know, well, it's clear what the idea was. So, yeah, that was the background. It started out good, but then it went down. Yes.
You spent some significant time with Srila Prabhupada, so I was just wondering, in your experience and observation, what pleased Srila Prabhupada the most and how we can serve him the best?
Well, once there's a meeting of book distributors with Srila Prabhupada in Atlanta, and one of the devotees asked him what pleases you the most, and they expected that he would say distributing his books, but he replied, if you love Krishna. So, of course, he did want us to distribute his books. He wrote me a letter, go on increasing books and go on increasing my pleasure. So that will please him, but it will ultimately please him if we develop our love for Krishna. Yes?
Thank you so much. You mentioned that you received many letters from Prabhupada over the course of the time with him, and we see now that all of Prabhupada's letters are readily accessible for everyone to read. And I just wanted to know what your personal opinion about that was, since these letters were very specific instructions for specific devotees, and now they're readily available for everyone and they can be interpreted in various ways. I just wanted to know what your personal opinion was.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj expressed the opinion that all the letters should not be made public, because he thought that, some instructions were specific to individuals, and he also felt that, Srila Prabhupada might have said things to someone or about someone that could put them in a negative light. So he was against it. But as you know, it's happened. And but there are also some things that Srila Prabhupada said that are sort of controversial. And so yeah, in South Africa in particular, they're concerned about some of the things. And I suggested that those things could be sort of removed from the database. I mean, they would still be there, but because if you do a word search on the database, so many things come up. So, yes, it's tricky. Yeah, I think some discretion could have been used. But anyway, it's all there. Yes.
They say, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, please pray to the fallen souls.
Sorry?
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that we should pray to the fallen souls.
Preach to or pray for?
Pray for.
Yes.
And Does that mean that we should pray to all the devotees who has passed away?
Oh, if you want,
Which I do.
you can.
Because I've been doing this for a long time. And I've been praying to all the fallen souls, also my grandfather and all the ones, and plus also the devotees who has passed away.
Okay.
And I have found some experience through that as well.
Good. Nice. Okay.
First of all, thank you for being here at Bhakti Centre. And thanks for Radhakan Prabhu for organizing such a good meet. And I have one question. One question, like I'm from the place of Hyderabad, so where we have a Ramanujan statue, of big statue. So I want to know what is the difference between Bhakti Vedant and Advaita Vedant. You have quoted in your class, like from Madras, what is the difference between Shiva and Vishnu. So I just want to know what is the difference between these two as well.
The difference between what two?
Bhakti Vedant and Advaita Vedant.
Well, Advaita is non-dual, and we don't subscribe to that. Yeah, not at all. Yeah, there's a sort of famous pose of Madhvacharya like this. Two. Yeah. So that's our position, that's our line. Not Advaita, not all one, but two. Yes, we should.
Krishna Maharaj. At a very early age, you were clear that you wanted to seek a spiritual master. Was there something in your very early life that you experienced or that you had impacted your life that led you to want a spiritual master so early in your life?
Well, when I was in high school, I wanted to achieve perfect happiness, and I understood that one could achieve perfect happiness only spiritually and not materially. And then I understood that in order to make spiritual progress, I needed a guru. So then my quest became to find my guru. And in the course of looking for my guru, I met many so-called gurus, and I wasn't satisfied with any of them. And I even had a vague mental impression of what my guru looked like, and he didn't have hair, and all the other swamis had long hair and beards. So I was almost becoming hopeless. But then, Srila Prabhupada came to my university, and I saw him. I missed the lecture, but I was there for the kirtan, and then I gave the devotees a lift in my car, and then the next night I went to the temple and surrendered. Yes? Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your lesson. And how you can recognize that is the moment, how you see that is the moment that is arrived, the moment to take shelter of a spiritual master, a Diksha Guru, and how you can recognize him.
Well, yeah, the second question comes first. You recognize him. And then when you recognize him, then you surrender immediately.
But how you can understand that is the moment? That I'm ready.
How can you understand that he's your guru?
That I'm ready to take shelter.
Oh. Why not? Yes.
Thanks, John. So we're all under the perception that if we make a lot of money, we'll be happy. And you said you knew that you had to seek spiritual happiness to be happy. Did you get that realization from your dad being rich? You realizing that your dad's
well, it's true. My father was wealthy, and I grew up in an affluent suburb of Chicago. And I could see firsthand that in spite of having a lot of wealth, that people were not happy. It's true. Yes?
Please accept my humble obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and your divine grace. Thank you for a wonderful class, Maharaj. I have a question. Why do bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people? my son is here especially for this question. So
Is he a good person or a bad person?
he's a very good person, but bad things are happening to him.
Well, it depends how you define bad. Because sometimes a person will face reversals in life which are actually meant to help him surrender to Krishna. There's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Yasyaham Anugrinami Harishe Tadinam Shanai. Krishna says, the first installment of my special mercy is that I take away everything from the devotee, and then when the devotee suffers doubly because he lost his wealth, and then also his friends and family may reject him or shun him. But then in that condition he will surrender to Krishna, so that's Krishna's special favor. Srila Prabhupada had there was a boy in Delhi, I think his name was Ravi Gupta, so he was translating Srila Prabhupada's books in Hindi. And the boy's father had a problem that he was addicted to smoking cigarettes. So one day the father and son came to meet Srila Prabhupada in Delhi, and Srila Prabhupada asked the father if he had given up smoking. And the father said, no. Can't I get some special mercy? And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, there is such a thing as special mercy. And then he quoted, yes, Yaham first installment of Krishna's special mercy is that he takes everything away from the devotee. So he asked Mr. Gupta, do you want special mercy? And Mr. Gupta said, no, I'll do it myself.
One more question. When we suffer from our own karmas. But do we suffer from the karmas around us, like family members or friends? Do we suffer for their karma as well?
Well, not really. I mean, it's your karma that you have them as family members. But other than that, you don't suffer for their. Well, I mean, I'm assuming they've grown up. I mean, if you have children who are dependent on you, then you are responsible. But once they're 18 years old or 21 years old, then they're responsible. You're not responsible. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I just want to know, like, how do you maintain your spiritual life, the consistency, the spiritual practice you do, in spite of having a lot of difficulties and hardship in your life, like especially Juhu temple issue during that time. So how do you maintain your consistency of practicing spiritual life, like chanting, reading, all that?
Well, chanting, of course, maintained. Sometimes, depending on the circumstances, I didn't have much time to read. And once I went into Srila Prabhupada's room in Calcutta, and he was keeping us so busy that I didn't have time to read, and I was feeling guilty. But I didn't say anything, but he knew my mind. And then he quoted the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Nasta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. And then he said that by serving the person Bhagavat, all the truths of the book Bhagavat will be revealed even if you don't read the book. So he was encouraging me, to continue with my service to him, even though I didn't have time to read. Under ordinary circumstances, we should read, of course. But under extraordinary circumstances, such as those, I didn't have time to read, but he reassured me by serving the person Bhagavat, all the truths of the book Bhagavat will be revealed, even if you don't read the book.
About the mercy, I think in my experience, before you receive the mercy and before you understand the mercy, the first thing is open the heart to the mercy. Sometimes the devotee don't feel I'm okay for the mercy, no? But it's very important. I don't know is right or wrong this I explain you, but in my experience is important you recognize you having your heart to open, and when you open your heart, start the process.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, we should open our heart to the mercy. That's good. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier chanting attentively.
Mm.
Can you give some tips how to chant more attentively and be more absorbed?
chant early in the morning, during Brahma Muhurta, chant in front of Tulsi, chant with other sincere chanters. And when your mind wanders, then you have to bring it back. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, whenever and from wherever your mind wanders, you have to bring it back under the control of the self. And so you have to do that. And, there are 3 stages in chanting. Namaparad, which is offensive chanting. Namabhas, which is the clearing stage. And then Shuddhanam, which is pure stage. And so the consistent effort to bring the mind back when it wanders constitutes the clearing stage. And you just have to make that effort. There are some good books about japa. Bhakti Prabhu has written a book called Japa, which I recommend, and His Holiness Satchidananda Swami has written several books about the holy name. So those books can also, give you good ideas and strengthen your practice of japa. Yeah. As Bhakti Prabhu says, it's a battle with the mind, but that battle must be fought. You can't just surrender to the mind and let it go anywhere and everywhere.
Thank you.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you about Srila Prabhupada when his spiritual master, I think it was, I can't remember the exact year, I think it was 1942 or somewhere around that year, or probably a little earlier. The spiritual master told him to go to the West and start this preaching movement. But then one reads in the books that they actually delayed right until the early mid-60s. And he got renounced, I think it was 1959. So my question is, he had clear instructions from his spiritual master in early 40s or late 30s, instructing him to go to the West. And then we see that Srila Prabhupada is not obeying those instructions. And he carries on, presumably in the expectation that he would be able to start the movement first in India and then export it to the West. But that didn't materialize. So why was Prabhupada so hesitant? If he had clear instructions from his spiritual master, go to the West, surely he should not have wasted his time. And his renounced order came, don't you think, much too late? Because had he had this renounced order and he had obeyed instructions from his spiritual master, he would have come to the West much earlier, in much better health, and much younger.
Well, Srila Prabhupada said he was preparing himself. In fact, in the Prabhupada Amrita, there's a book, a volume, I think A Lifetime in Preparation. So Srila Prabhupada said he was preparing himself.
But the instructions were very clear.
Sorry?
The instructions from the spiritual masters were clear.
Yeah.
That in the early 40s, he was told he should go to the West.
He did?
But in the early 40s, he went in 1965. What the spiritual master says is obviously absolutely correct. What the spiritual master says is always correct, and you obey it you're doing the right thing.
Now, when he was preparing himself, it reminds me, Srila Prabhupada gave a talk in Los Angeles, and one lady, Rose Forecash, asked Srila Prabhupada, if this Krishna consciousness is so good, why did you wait so long before you brought it here? And Srila Prabhupada replied, you were not ready. So, I mean, everything that Prabhupada did was perfect, and yeah.
So the West wasn't ready, he wasn't ready, both ways.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Maharaj, thank you. Srila Prabhupada really wanted to establish the Varnashram system. So, in this modern age, how can one on this path of bhakti contribute to Srila Prabhupada's desire to establish the Varnashram system?
Well, the practical application is mainly the farm communities. Srila Prabhupada wanted us to have, as far as possible, self-sufficient farm communities. And as a movement, we have made some progress in that direction. We could do a lot more. Yeah, he wanted us to be self-sufficient.
And so, in this modern age, how could, as an individual, contribute? Because it's a bit hard to do farming.
Sorry?
In this kind of modern day, how is it possible to do that? Because farming's a bit hard. If you have to leave the city, have a lot of land.
Well, it's not for everyone. You just do your part. It doesn't mean that you have to farm. Yeah, just do your part.
My question is, why do we not celebrate Tulsi Viva?
Sorry?
Why don't we celebrate Tulsi Viva?
Oh, the marriage of Tulsi? Tulsi Srila. I don't know, Srila Prabhupada didn't really give that to us. Yeah, sometimes he was asked about Tulsi and Shalagram. He didn't really get into it. And for some reason he didn't appreciate that line of thought.
So that's why we don't celebrate it. Is that the reason why we don't celebrate it?
Well, that's why I don't celebrate. All right, so what's next?
Signing the books.
Well, speak up.
Because we have your books, Guru Maharaj, if anybody is interested.
Where are the books?
We should select the books in the Prasadam book. So then devotees are going to talk to you and you can do that. Would you like to have some kirtan now?
We can.
I just want to say a few words about the books. Maharaj received many instructions from Srila Prabhupada. But Srila Prabhupada said his most important instruction to Maharaj is that he should write. So Maharaj has spent the last few years writing and has published 4 books. The first is called Watering the Seed. 5, sorry. 5 books. The first one is called Watering the Seed, which is about experience and anecdotes from the pastimes and teachings of Srila Prabhupada. The second book is called Many Moons, which is reflections on departed Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. The third book is called Life's Final Exam, which is perspectives on death and dying from the Vedic literature. The fourth book is called I'll Build You a Temple, the Juhu story. The Juhu experience was one of the biggest challenges that Srila Prabhupada experienced in establishing the Krishna consciousness movement. And at the end of the entire episode, Srila Prabhupada reflected that it was a good fight, someone should write a book about it. So Maharaj has written that book. And the final book, which we just received in the UK 2 weeks ago, it's called A Dancing White Elephants. And that's traveling with Srila Prabhupada from 1970 to 1972. Yes, and Srila Prabhupada called these European and American disciples dancing white elephants. So it's a very appropriate title. And Maharaj has kindly agreed to sign the books for whoever takes any of these books today. So please feel free to have a look, and we have them on display. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So whoever would like to take a book can come next door. We're starting up in the room next door. You can join.
Okay. Goma, would you like to sing the Nishinga prayers?
Yeah.
Yes. So Maharaj will sing the Nishinga prayers and everyone can join.
Sadanandi, can you take the books and people want to take before they go?
Namaste
let's conclude with Vaishnava for now. I will talk about respectful obeisances and for all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. But just like desire trees, you can fulfill the desires of everyone. Therefore, compassion for the fallen conditioned soul. Thank you.